Okay, Mr. Nunnery, I want to take a step back and go through a little bit of what you said, show you some maps. Your Honor, if I could have the government laptop, please. Mr. Nunnery, I've put on the screen what's marked as Government Exhibit 439, and I'll just direct you that the bottom of the page is Roosevelt Road. Yes. And almost exactly down the middle of the page is Sacramento. Yes. And then to the left is Whipple, and to the right is Richmond. Yes. Does this look familiar to you? Yes. Now, is this generally the area where you were on June 4, 2003 with Mr. Span, Squeaky, and Allen? Yes. If you would, make a mark on that screen there where the car wash is. Okay, right here. So, Mr. Nunnery, you've made a mark on, I think that's the northwest corner of Sacramento and Roosevelt, where it says Nationwide Hand Car Wash. Is that right? Yes. Now, you testified that you didn't pull up in front of the car wash. Is that right? No. Where did you park your car with Mr. Span, Allen, and Squeaky? We parked right here. Okay, so that's on, you made a mark on Whipple Street in front of 1137? Yeah. So it was near that lot on the corner of Whipple and what looks like an alley? Yes. And you said that Squeaky then got out of the car? Yes. First you handed him a gun? Yes. And Mr. Span gave him some instructions? Yes. And then Squeaky got out? Yes. And you testified that you saw where Squeaky went? Yes. If you would, make a mark where you saw Squeaky go. He got out the car and he walked through the alley and then turned. And you lost sight of him after that, I assume? Yes. So you made a mark from the car in front of 1137 South Whipple through what looks like an alley or a gravel road. Yes. East, and then turning at the car wash. Yes. I'm going to clear the screen, Mr. Nunnery. Mr. Nunnery, we've talked about how this was a barber shop / car wash. Yes. If you can, on this screen, can you show us where I just enlarged it a little bit for you, Mr. Nunnery. Can you show us on the screen where the barber shop aspect of the car wash is? It's the trailer on the side. Okay, so you made a mark on the right-hand side of the car wash. It looks like a white trailer? Yes. Have you ever been in that trailer? Yeah. Was it big or small? No, it's small. Now, Mr. Nunnery, you testified that, I think you said 1 or 2 minutes after Squeaky exited your car, you heard gunshots? Yes. And you said you heard 2 sets of shots? Yes. And at that point, Mr. Span asked you or directed you to get him out of the car? Yes. And you agreed to get him out of the car? Yes. And you said you went up on a porch? Yes. Where was the house in relation to where your car was at that point? We were sitting in front of the house. So you were parked in front of this house that you then stepped up on? Yeah. Excuse me, wrong one. Your Honor, I may have to use the ELMO. Looks like I'm missing one exhibit. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nunnery, I've now put up on the screen what's marked as Government Exhibit 438. Do you see that? Yes. Do you recognize that area? Yes. What is depicted in Government Exhibit 438? The gray stone building that I believe we were parked in front of. And on the map, we were looking at... I'm not sure 438's in evidence. Is there any objection to that? No, Judge. All right. Government Exhibit 438 is it 438? It's 438. Apologies, Your Honor. It's admitted to without objection. Mr. Nunnery, when we were looking at the larger map, you indicated you parked in front of a house next to a lot? Yes. Does this appear to be the house that you parked in front of next to the lot? Yes. And did you park in front of the grayish stone house or the red house next to it? The gray stone. And you said that you took Mr. Span out of the car? Yes. And put him on the porch-like area? Yes. Now, did the house look like this when you put Mr. Span on the porch in 2003? No, the porch was different. Describe what the porch looked like. The porch was gray stone also, cement, I believe. And you were able to just put Mr. Span on that porch? Yeah. And this is when you were waiting for someone to come pick you up? Yes. And then you eventually saw Scotty and the other people? Yes. How long would you estimate you were on the porch with Mr. Span? A couple of minutes. And then you got in the car with Scotty and those other people? Yes. And you testified you were in the car and then Mr. Span indicated he did not want to be in the car anymore? Yes. And so they took you, Scotty and the others took you where? Down the street to Hollywood Video. How did they get there? We drove down Whipple to the next block, which is Fillmore, I think. And then we went west down Fillmore to Kedzie, and then made a left down Kedzie going back down south, and then a right on Roosevelt headed back west. How long would you say that took? 2 minutes. Not far? Nah. Your Honor, I discussed briefly with defense counsel government moves into evidence Government Exhibit 440, which is a map not yet in evidence. Any objection? No, Judge. It's admitted without objection. And, Your Honor, could I have the government computer this time? Mr. Nunnery, I've put up on the scene what's marked as Government Exhibit 440. Yes. Do you see that on your screen? Yes. So on the bottom of the page is Roosevelt Road. Far right-hand side of the page is Sacramento. Across the top of the page is Fillmore. Yeah. Does this look like a broader view in relation to the map we just saw a few moments ago? Yes. If you would make a mark where you see the car wash. Right here. And again, that's on the corner of Sacramento and Roosevelt? Yes. And if you would, again, indicate where you parked with Mr. Span, Allen, and Squeaky on Whipple. And again, you've made a mark on Whipple in front of what looks like a white grayish building? Yes. You then said Scotty picked you up and you drove? Yes. If you would mark on the map the route that you took to the next location you went to. Okay. Down Whipple. Okay. And for the record, you went north on Whipple, west on Fillmore, south on Kedzie, west on Roosevelt? Yes. And then you pulled into what looks like a parking lot? Yes. Now, you testified about Spalding and Roosevelt earlier. Is that right, Mr. Nunnery? Yes. Is this the same parking lot that you had met Mr. Span on prior occasions? Yes. And what was in this parking lot? Hollywood Video, Freshware, Dominic's. I see the auto parts store. Why did you ask Scotty to take you here? Because I had an apartment down the street on Spalding. And where was your apartment in relation to the parking lot and mall? Well, it's in this block right here, but a little further down. Maybe. So you've made a mark on South Spalding going south off the map? Yes. How far away? Before you get to the next corner. So it was close? Yeah. Your Honor, if I could have one moment. Your Honor, the next map I'd like to show is Government Exhibit 437. I don't believe it's in evidence. Counsel has no objection. All right. No objection? No objection. It's admitted without objection. So, Mr. Nunnery, I've brought up what's marked as Government Exhibit 437. What is that? The Hollywood Video. Is that the Hollywood Video you went to with Mr. Span after the murder of Mr. Rangel? Yes. Did you go inside or did you wait outside? No, we went inside. And how long did you wait until Amy came and picked you up? Maybe about 30 minutes. And when Amy picked you up, where did y'all go? We went to the apartment down the street. I had to use the bathroom. And that was your apartment? Yes. And we can take down Government Exhibit 437. Thank you. So what happened when you got to your apartment on Spalding? I went in to use the bathroom and LeBar sat out in the car. And when I came out from using the bathroom, Amy and LeBar was gone. They had left? Yeah, they had left. What happened next? I waited on her to come back, and when she came back, she told me that LeBar asked her to drop him off at his grandmother's house. So what did you and Amy do? Me and Amy, I'm trying to think, did I go by myself or was Amy with me when I drove back over there? Yeah, I drove over there to Lexington where she told me she dropped him off at. We went back over there and I saw Pierre. So Amy told you where she had taken Mr. Span? Yeah. And then you went to that same area? Yes. And what was that area? Lexington and Karlov. And you said over there you saw Pierre? Yes. Did you talk to Pierre? Yes. What did you talk to Pierre about? I told him what had just happened and told him that Squeaky had got down or whatever. What did you mean by that? At that point, we didn't know if Kato was dead or not, but we just knew that Squeaky had went and shot him. Was that based on where you were and the gunshots you heard? Yes. And so you talked to Pierre about this? Yes. Did you ask Pierre anything else? Yeah, I asked him where was Brother Man? LeBar. And what did Pierre say? He said he might be around the corner, so we went around the corner, but he wasn't there. What was around the corner? A house. I believe it to be Labar's grandmother's house, but I'm not sure. But you did not find Mr. Span there? No. And so what did you do next? I left. Where did you go? I went to call Fred. And is this the same Fred who had brought you the contract to kill Kato? Yes. And did you meet Fred that day? Yes. Where did you... I'm sorry, go ahead. I called Fred and I eventually called Black. Do you recall who you called first? No, I don't know if I called. I'm sure I might have called Fred first to relay the news to Fred. And then you called Black? Yes. And what did you talk to Black about? I told Black to come pick me up. And where did you go? We drove to meet Fred. Where did you meet Fred? At the White Castle on Roosevelt and Western. And you and Black were together? Yes. Was Fred alone? Yes. Did you meet with Fred there? Yes. Did you meet inside the White Castle or outside? Outside in the parking lot. In a car or just on the street? In a car. Whose car? I got out of the car with Black and got in the car with Fred. Did Black get in Fred's car too? No. And what did you and Fred discuss in Fred's car? I told him that Labar had got the job done and asked him about the money. When would he have the money? And what did Fred say? He said he's going to call Doug and get on top of getting the money. Now, I think that's the first time we've discussed someone named Doug. Yes. Who's Doug? Doug is the guy that Fred works for. Okay, what do you mean by that? Fred sold drugs for Doug. And remind the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what gang did Fred associate with? The conservative vice lords. And was it understanding that Doug was also a conservative vice lord? Yes. So your understanding was Doug was higher up in the gang than Fred? Yes. So how did you leave it with Fred? He told me that he was going to call Doug and get on top of getting the money and he'll call me back. Did he call you back? Yes. Did you meet with Fred again that day? Yes. Is this again the same day that Kato, Rudy Rangel, was killed? Yes. Where did you meet with Fred after the White Castle meeting? At Marshfield Gardens Apartments. Where are the Marshfield Gardens? On Sedgwick and Blackhawk. Why did you meet there? Because that's where Fred was from. That's where he lived. And did you go alone or with other people? No, I went alone. And did you meet Fred there? Yes. And was Fred alone? Yes. And what happened there? He gave me $15,000. Fred did? Yeah. In cash? Yes. Now, at the beginning, you testified that you and Fred were going to split the $200,000. Is that correct? Yes. And so how much was your share supposed to be? I was supposed to get the $100,000 from Fred, and I was going to pay Labar the $20,000. So you were supposed to make about $80,000? Yes. But Fred only gave you 15? Yes. Did you discuss the rest of the money? Yeah, he told me that he was waiting on Doug, but that's what he had for right now, and he'll probably have the rest the next day. And so did you take the money? Yes. And what did you do next? I called the bar and told him that I had the money. And did you meet with him? Yes. When? Later on that night, like right after I left from meeting Fred. Same night? Yeah, same night. Where did you meet Mr. Span? At the gas station on Austin and Harrison, right off the expressway. Which expressway? The 290. And were you still alone? Yes. And how about Mr. Span? Was he alone or with others? Nah, there was some other people in the car. I believe Pierre was one of them. I don't know who else was in the car. But you recall some other people in the car? Yeah. And did you meet with Mr. Span at this gas station at Harrison and the expressway? Yes. And what happened there? I gave him the money and he was like, what about the rest? I was like, man, Fred said he was going to call me tomorrow and I have the rest of the money for him the next day. How much of the $15,000 you got from Fred did you give to Mr. Span? The whole $15,000. Did Mr. Span say anything in response? Nah, he was like, all right, I'll call you tomorrow. Did he indicate whether or not he was going to give Squeaky any money? No, not at that point. And after this, did you have additional conversations with Fred? Yes. About the money? Yes. Can you estimate how many? 100. Did you ever get paid additional money from Fred? No. What would Fred say? That Doug was playing games about the money. What did you understand playing games to mean? Meaning that he wasn't coming off the money. Doug wasn't coming off the money. Was it your understanding that Doug was supposed to provide the money to Fred? Yes. And so you never got paid the additional money from this deal? No. Your Honor, this may be a good point to stop if I suggest it, or I could go a few more minutes. No, if this is the end of the topic, then we'll break for lunch. 45 minutes. Please don't discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. You might want to leave the binders in the courtroom. You'll need them this afternoon, and we'll see you in 45 minutes.